Hello everyone. I've had a few people ask me kind of about songwriting, how it works or what it's like or how long it takes. And I think oftentimes I don't really have like a really good answer on the spot. I don't give a really good answer to people. And so I decided I'd like to make a video a little bit about kind of songwriting and how it works for me. Hopefully it'll be helpful to anyone who's interested, well, interesting to anyone, and also helpful to those who are interested in trying songwriting for themselves. And I'd like to demystify it a little bit too. We sometimes think it's this kind of magical thing that just kind of hits you, and or some people have it and some people don't. But really it's something that takes time to develop. And so I wouldn't, don't be discouraged or worry about like whether or not you have the gift. I think anyone who's interested really can develop the skill. It just takes time and effort, and so you just keep trying. It takes some emotional energy. But yeah, so with that, I like to go into, there are kind of three different methods that I use for songwriting, or three main methods that I like to go over. And so the first of these methods is kind of where you start with kind of a riff or a pattern or some kind of little thing, musical melody or something on an instrument. And then you kind of fill in the lyrics and kind of find what matches the song. So to demonstrate this, I'd like to use my song. It's called Walking, that I wrote and then we played with my band Duck Thinks. So beginning with that, I kind of had this little piano melody part and chords kind of that I've been playing around with for a while. And so it sounds like this. So that's kind of a little pattern riff, whatever you might call it, and chords kind of thing that I come up with, and I was playing around with that. And as I kind of do that, I start kind of coming up with little lyrics or kind of what might fit based on kind of how the song feels and what kind of I want the song to be about and how it makes me feel. And so kind of this has kind of a sad, kind of melancholy, but not like dreary. It's kind of a hopeful but still somber kind of sound. And so as I was kind of thinking about this, I kind of just imagine it's kind of like you just like kind of walking and maybe kicking the rock down the road, something like that, where you're just kind of thinking to yourself as you walk and just kind of absorbing a little bit, maybe the place where you're at. And so I kind of started with that idea, and I had these lyrics kind of come to my mind, and just kind of found what fits. But it's kind of walking downtown with my eyes closed. And then from there, I kind of go into the chorus, which is kind of another similar thing. I'd kind of come up with a little melody for the chorus, and then kind of found what words fit. And at that point, I had an idea of kind of where I was going, kind of with the narrative of the song. And so the kind of found lyrics to continue the story a little bit. But yeah, so that's kind of the first example. You start with kind of an idea, a musical idea on using an instrument or something, where you kind of got a little riff or some chords or some patterns that you're kind of playing around with, and then you kind of find some lyrics that match to it and kind of complete the song. So that's kind of the first type. And then the second kind that I like to go over is, so this is kind of where you start with your lyrics. So maybe you have like a poem that you've written, or maybe someone else has written, you've got someone else's poem you want to set to music. And so you kind of take that and then you add music to go with it and kind of find some melody lines for the vocals and such. So for that, I like to use, for example, my song, The Tin Man. So this one I use the guitar, but the Tin Man. I had this poem. It's kind of a story, like a, kind of like a maybe like a fairy tale or a children's story, um, and it's kind of sad. And so I started kind of looking at the poem, and I came up with kind of what the feel I wanted from the poem. It was pretty clear, with the lyrics you can see kind of what it's trying to convey. And so kind of based on those emotions, I kind of tried to find chords that would kind of communicate that emotion as well. So I started out, I'm in C right now. So I started out with kind of a C chord, with just your one chord, if you're familiar with using scale degrees or using members chord system. But so I kind of started off with my one chord, and then I go kind of the 1, 2, 5 progression. It's pretty common in classical. It's kind of a classical chord progression. Also has kind of connections to jazz and kind of classic, kind of retro pop, I think. So anyway, so I'm gonna start with that. The Tin Man went to paint a picture, but his colors were all gray. So you can see it's kind of a plodding, slow storytelling feel. But his colors were all gray. He tried to paint a moonlit sky, and then the break of day. So I kind of start with this 1, 2, 5, 1 progression. But then here I kind of it kind of seems to pick up the pace a little bit. Hit the 1 dominant 7 chord, 1, 7. And then it kind of rises into this almost kind of like a refrain. The 4 minor, very kind of tragic sounding chord pair. And then then that resolves back to the 1, and then it resolved with kind of another 1, 2, 5. This is a major 2. Oh wait, sorry. It goes, so yeah, it goes the 1, and then up to the 4 for the 2 major, and then 5. So again, those chords are kind of C. The Tin Man went to paint a picture, and I've got D minor. But his colors were all gray. The G7. He tried to paint a moonlit sky, C. And then the break of day, C dominant 7. But each one of his paintings, that was the major 4, and then I go the minor 4, were dull and all the same. Back to C. That was F, the 4. Because they had no feeling. That's the 1, and then the 2, so C and then D major. Which was as an empty frame, F and G. Anyway, so that's kind of a little bit of some chords there. And in another video, I can talk a little bit about chord theory, music theory, and how that kind of all works. But yeah, so I kind of started with that feel, with that lyrics, and then I kind of came up with what chords would match that feel that I wanted for the song, and kind of have this kind of storytelling, kind of this sad, somber kind of feel. And that's kind of what I chose, and that's kind of what worked for me. So then the last kind of songwriting is kind of where you start with this time kind of your, I was going to say one more thing with that. Tin Man, you might wonder where I got the melody line, because I told you I had these lyrics and then I kind of got some chords. So when it comes to the melody line, it's similar with walking. I had the chords, and especially when you get a little bit more experience with music, and especially if you've accompanied yourself singing and playing an instrument, sometimes you can get a little bit of a feel for what melodies are going to work with the chords. It can be kind of natural, but there's also some chord theory that goes into that, some music theory, where you talk about chord tones and what notes go well with the chord. And so I can go over that in another video as well. But yeah, I kind of just had the chords that I found kind of melodies that worked with it, and you can do that without knowing anything about music theory. It's kind of a natural process as well. But music theory can certainly help. And the other thing I wanted to talk about, and same thing with coming up with chord progressions, you don't need to know an awful lot about music theory. You can experiment with things and see what you like. But anyway, so this other song, I don't need this actually. The third method that I like to go over is where you have lyrics or a melody line. Maybe even the melody line comes first, and then the lyrics kind of come second. And so this is the next song that I'm going to use for this example. Is called "It'll Be Okay." It's just kind of a happy, upbeat song. Maybe a little bit unusual for me, but I came up with this one. Just the melody kind of came into my head as kind of this little like, "It'll be okay, don't worry, my love. Whether there's stars or there's storms up above, I'm gonna, just like you told me, hold me. There's no need to worry, my love." So it's kind of a groovy, maybe a little bit bluesy kind of feel to it, very free sounding, kind of pentatonic-ish. And so, I just kind of had this upbeat, kind of easygoing kind of sound. And so, I took that melody and I just kind of grabbed my ukulele and I kind of tried to find what chords will work for that. So once again, there's some chord theory that can go into it. You can also just experiment and see what kind of works for the song. But for me, this is kind of once again, I started with a C chord. It'll be okay, don't worry, my love. And then here I kind of wanted to change the chord, but I didn't want to change the feel very much. I kind of wanted to have kind of this drony, consistent feel. And so then it's usually good, if you're familiar with music theory, to go from the 1 to the 6. Because it's what you call a median, or the submedian. But essentially it kind of keeps the same kind of feel. It moves the song forward with some changing chord, but it doesn't really, I guess it doesn't move the song a ton. It's kind of a good, like kind of stationary. It's a lot more stationary with chord change. It's not very much has changed there. And so there's some music theory in there, and we could talk about it maybe if you're interested. I might make some videos later on. So I start with a C chord. It'll be okay, don't worry, my love. Whether it's storms or it's stars up above, I'm gonna, just like you told me, hold me. There's no need to worry, my love. So I start with that kind of like C. Go to the A minor, that's the 6. Then I kind of go to the 4. You might be familiar with this chord progression from songs like Heart and Soul. So I go to the 4, but then I kind of mix it up and hit this kind of, like I said before, the 4 minor. Has kind of a sad sound, but this time, in this song, it doesn't necessarily function as sad, but maybe a little bit of like a bittersweet. It's also kind of bluesy in this case, where you have that, it's almost like a F minor 7. But then altogether it kind of comes out, it'll be okay, don't worry, my love. Whether it's storms or it's stars up above, A minor, I'm gonna hold you, F major, no need to worry, my love. That's F minor, and then F minor just kind of resolves back down to that C, and then we just kind of sit there for a while. That's kind of the intermediate. And then I kind of have another verse. The song kind of goes through a few different scenarios, but that's kind of the third example where I had this kind of fun melody that was just kind of running through my head, and these kind of lyrics that are easygoing, not super serious, and kind of but kind of sweet. And so I tried to just kind of find a chord progression that matched them, and you can just mess around and do that, and just kind of find what works, and you'll get used to it and you'll develop those skills. So like I said, all of these things they're just skills that are developed over time. There's just not, don't worry about, do I have, the gift for songwriting? Am I meant to be a songwriter? I think if you have an interest in songwriting, I encourage everyone to just give it a try. And it's really something that it can be really fulfilling, and it's not like you have to be the chosen one to do it either. And that's the biggest piece of encouragement I have for anyone, is just don't put it off and just try it, and don't be a perfectionist about it. Be willing to, your first songs aren't going to be maybe as good as your later songs. Maybe, to learn a skill, you kind of have to start by doing it. You have to start writing songs, and you have to get over the fact that maybe your first song's going to be kind of crap, and that's okay. And I've, maybe you'll like it, partly even if it's just because it was a stepping stone for you to get better. And it doesn't have to be a really big song. It could be a little more, barely more than a jingle, just something small, and kind of develop those skills for songwriting, and also kind of develop that stamina and realize that things don't always work out the first time you try them, and that it takes a few tries over to find something that you really like. And that's okay. It's okay for it to take time. It's not like it needs to click right away, otherwise you're not made for it, or this song. You don't panic if that's not how it turns out. So yeah, I know I kind of went into maybe some deeper topics there, but I don't want to intimidate anyone. It's really not. It's something that anyone can begin trying to do and experimenting around with. And if you're interested, I comment below, and if you're interested in hearing more about kind of some of the basic music theory, or kind of the music theory that goes behind songwriting, and kind of what I'm thinking about as I kind of develop these chord progressions. Once again, not something you need to know, but something that can help. So if you're interested in that, or if you're interested in, for example, songwriting that's not lyrical, songwriting that's kind of composing or instrumental songwriting, let me know if you're interested in that, and I can do whatever you guys would like to hear more about. I can talk about that. So thanks for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed it, and I hope that you all feel a little bit more, well, for those of you that are interested, I hope that you really do go and try and write a song. So thanks for watching, and see ya.